Hello there, and welcome to the impzonepod podcast. We are back again, talking more TNA wrestling shenanigans. And well, I don't know what to say because, I was assuming we were going to have a update to do for Victory Road this week. Although there is some stuff going on and whatnot, as there always is. But there is nothing really to report as such as of yet. So that's not very good in many ways because you don't have long to build to this event. It feels insane that you would not book or try to book for an event. Now, this is in early September. We are in late August now. So, how many weeks? Oh, whoops. I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. How many weeks have we got? We've got 1 week. Oh, where is it actually? The 4th. So, where are we? What? Oh, no, that's the TV taping. Sorry. 26th, actually. So, actually, we've got a bit more than a month, but what have you? You still have to build up quite a bit in this month. And the fact that you've got a live episode happening in a couple weeks' time, that's pretty cool. That's great. By then, I expect 90% of the card to be, finalized. Some interesting stuff going on with the knockouts and what they're going to do there. I think they're probably going to have some sort of final number one contendership match of some sort. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see what's going on there or how it all works out and all of that stuff. I think that it's actually I'm actually kind of a little bit annoyed because I kind of feel like they're trying to put Indy Hartwell into the Bound for Glory match right now. And not that I'm going to say 100% no, but I'm just not... I think I'm not as interested because, there's been a lot of girls, gals, whatever, on that roster. Danny Luna, who, they just turned heel, basically, this week. Jody Threat, Zaya Brookside, so many people that have been on that roster for even Ash by Elegance. I think that Ash is one of the perfect people to think about in that upper main event picture of the knockouts. If you're thinking, let's build around, a heel and a babyface. Here you have Marsha, and here you have Ash, heel and babyface, and you have the champion right now, JC, on that heel side. So now you need somebody, right, on that other side of the babyface side that is pulled up to that level. And I don't really think that it's going to be Jody Threat. I really don't. But, I won't 100% say no because, again, I feel like a lot of those girls, have been there for a long time. And it's just... a lot of us do have that connection to them, but have they really, connected the way that we need them to connect or whatever and that sort of thing, or changed the game or really done the thing that we need them to do? And in a sense, do they really need to? Not 1,000%, but again, you still need somebody to be that's the goal. It's not just, I'm here and I exist and I'm doing a decent job. No, you need to be in the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, 1% of 1%. You know what I mean? You need to be the absolute pinnacle of the division to, even be in that framework, And then to be the champion, you need to be the one that is, again, TNA is not a huge draw. It is becoming a bigger draw for people, but it is not a huge draw. It's not a huge draw like WWE is a huge draw. WWE comes to town and they don't even really have to try very hard to draw a crowd or draw an audience to their pay-per-views. They will get a big audience to their pay-per-views and to their big shows. TNA has to work at it. Their stars have to make themselves superstars to get themselves to, in that space where people go, holy shit, I've got to see this person, because they're so good, or they're, got something that I need to see, or whatever it is, and that's where it's got to be. You've got to be thinking, man, no, I'm invested, or whatever. And this person's got me, and you need to be buying the t-shirt and all of this sort of stuff, So, there. With the world title scene, it sounds like, and I haven't calculated this out, but it sounds like they've changed what, is going to go down in a sense, because traditionally, what you think is the champion's going to defend it every 30 days or whatever, every month, effectively. Now it's being said he's not going to defend it for 50 days. So that's at least, a month away is 30 days, which is basically Victory Road. So it's another 20 days after Victory Road. And Bound for Glory is in October, September 26th. And Bound for Glory is October 12th, which is just after 2 weeks away from that. So that is, 30 days, yeah, 30 days plus another 20 days. So that's 50 days, rough, I think. 2 weeks, 14 days. So, or whatever it is. So that must be roughly right, I guess. I don't know. I'm not doing it exactly because I'm not going to do that math, but whatever. So yeah, that's the idea. The idea is that he's not going to defend it until Bound for Glory, which I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, because I've just been saying, it feels, and it has felt like, they haven't really taken the time to sit down and say, okay, here's what's going to happen, and here's how it's going to happen. It kind of does feel like they're pushing for Santana in some way, in some form, in some fashion, because he's still sort of there, and he's been involved in the last couple of programs. So it kind of feels like that's the direction that you're going. There are still other little blips and blops and whatever else going along. So you kind of feel like, well, what's going on there? Where's that going? What are you doing with that? How are you going to see somebody, come along and do this, or you've got all these other players. You've got Kazarian beating up, Jake, and it's a lot of people are high on Jake. I'm not very high on Jake. I still think that he could be somebody important, but he hasn't really been important in the company ever. So it's just, I don't know. I want a little bit more from the guy. So I'd rather see him turn heel and be a real badass and taking names and things like that. That'd be cool. You don't have to present him as 100% heel forever. You can turn him babyface and he can still be a badass that, has to have the title and all of this sort of stuff. I think that would be really cool. But I don't know how well he could play it or play off of it or whatever. That's my thing there with that. But still, I don't think that the same thing happened with Joe Hendry a few months ago, where Kaz beat Joe Hendry, and it was and they didn't really follow that up. If they followed it up and had something happen with that, then I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, cool. This was going somewhere. This had a purpose, but it just felt like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. There's nothing really happening with that, and cool. It didn't really mean anything. The more things that happen that turn into nothing are the more things that, hurt things, because it's like, well, all that time that you spent, not just in promos, and even that wasn't very long, but again, all that time that you spent in that match and in that promo and in that, if you had had Joe win, there would still be something there. You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter which way you decide these things or which way you go with these things. But the thing is, if you're going to start going in a direction, you can't then go, oh, well, we're just going to drop that or forget about that or whatever it is. And sometimes it is one of those things of saying, well, it's what WWE wants. It's what, we've got to do with WWE. Or, perhaps somebody wasn't thinking hard enough and, whatever else it is. So, and we realized, oh yeah, we've got to get to Bound for Glory or whatever else it is. So we've got to go in that direction, and now we've got to put Joe Hendry in there because he's our biggest guy. And the same thing for like Bound for Glory. It's like, dude, he's still on your roster, so it's like you've got to get him something to do between now and Bound for Glory, and especially at Bound for Glory. So what are you going to do with him? Like, every single thing of these is always raising that question. Is like, he wasn't on the emergence card, which again, perhaps it was pretty stacked, but still, like, you should have found something for Joe to do. You should have, like, and maybe that was again because he was doing something with WWE and they wanted him for that and whatever else, and he couldn't, do too many matches in too many days or whatever it was. But this is wrestling, you know what I mean? You should be able to have 300 matches, But then again, I understand now that people don't want to do that as much, and it is smart to limit yourself to doing only so much and whatnot. But still, it's one of those things of saying, well, he was actually at the show commentating on a match, so surely he could have wrestled a match, and you could have set something up for him later on down the road, because he is such a big superstar, and you can't be forgetting that you've got him and you need him and all of that stuff. Same with Santana, same with anyone that's in that sort of upper echelon. Like, I kind of am interested in this thing next week, but with Macklin and Santana teaming and whatnot. But, like, I don't know, dude. I still want to see Macklin in there somewhere, because it's like, he's like the last representative of, like, like major singles title in some ways, like, though the X Division title is there, and that's more major, arguably. But everyone always seems to think that that's, like, opening match or whatever sort of, not even mid-card, opening card sort of match level title or whatever, just a fodder championship, whatever, which is stupid, but whatever. That's, how stupid some people are and whatnot. So, yeah, there are things happening, but again, like, I think you've got more than a month. They're obviously building something, but, like, what are you doing? Where is it going? How are you getting there? Like, obviously, in some ways, they know. But from the audience perspective, until you announce things, we don't know what you're doing. So it seems a little bit messy, and a little bit like, oh, we don't know what we're doing, or what's going on, or what's going to happen, and neither do you. But sometimes that's fine, but you've got to have people, like, I think the arena, though, has pretty much sold out, so it is very much like, well, what more do they need to do in some ways in that regard? But the thing isn't just saying, oh yeah, that's fine, we've got our ticket sales or whatever. You need to be sitting there and saying, oh yeah, but also we need to sell this thing on pay-per-view. Even if like, this is one of the last few pay-per-views that we have. Like, again, like, I want to talk more about the whole live streaming, premium live events sort of thing, I think, at some point, because I do think that it is important to sort of talk about that and in more detail at some point. But, maybe I don't know whether I should do it here, but I kind of talked about it. But, I do think that it probably deserves the same for you. But here we are at this point. So, we've got to talk about where we're going, not just these things that are kind of like nebulous things or whatever that might or might happen and when they might happen. And look at when, I can't remember when it was, but I remember WWE saying that, they only have a couple months or whatever it is before they're moving their deal over to ESPN and whatnot and all of this other stuff, or wherever other things are going and whatnot. So, yeah, I think that you've got to look at, saying, well, like I said, are we moving now? Well, not now, but soon, or, just after WWE moves? Or are we moving in the new year? And they did say or have sort of hinted at it that, in some ways, in some forms, in some fashions, that, hey, we're not going to get an announcement until Bound for Glory. And, well, no shows or no tapings have been announced after Bound for Glory, assumedly saying, well, there's an idea perhaps there to do a live show. And they've had a live show just before it, next couple of weeks. So again, it feels like they're doing as many live shows potentially as possible, to try to do that kind of we are getting into that space of, no, we're going to go live. We're going to show you, we can go live. They've done it well, mostly. They had a few production issues at Emergence on the pre-show mostly, but they've done a lot of things live to sort of get that, and that's where they'll be at a certain point, is live touring, proper live touring, and saying, okay, we're going to make ourselves, we'll make our way across the country, effectively. We're going to go from one city to another city, and in 7 days, whatever, we're going to be in another city. And, in a day or 2 days or something, or whatever it is, you need to be able to say, okay, Rolling Stones just played this arena, whatever it was. I don't know. I don't care. But then we need to set it up for wrestling. We need to set up the ring. We need to set up where the cameras are going to be. We need to, so you need to be able to, within, probably 24 hours, set all that up, And it does take a long time. It takes a lot of time and effort and energy and whatnot, and testing and retesting and whatever else to make sure everything goes right. And even then, sometimes it goes wrong. So being able to have, people going, oh no, we're live now, go now, some of those things, even if somebody says go live now, it's well, at least there's no delay. Delays are always something that, hurt these things. But yeah, I don't know to think too much about this right now. Might have to come back next week and see where we're at. We might, actually have announcements of things. We can obviously look through the spoilers again, but I don't particularly want to, unless we're it does feel like, oh man, we need to know. We need to know. And perhaps again, I'll misread it, or I'll miss something, or whatever else it is, or whatnot, or misinterpreted it, or whatever. Or it feels like, why did they do it that way? Until you think about it a bit more, until you go, oh yeah, well, he's got to be here, and he's got to be there, and, well, he's got to be the face, and he's got to be the heel. So, they did that to get as much heat, or as, whatever they could get for that, and as much sympathy for that, so that was the idea. So yeah, I don't have much to say on this week and what's happening with Victory Road and whatnot, which, yeah, as I said, not good. Because again, you should be having these things. Not that they actually have to be 100% clearly defined, but you should have to be 90%. This is where we're going. Like, and perhaps that's again because like they're like still sitting for heat wave, so they're like, we don't want people to feel like there's too much focus away from that. But then again, the thing is, there should be like clearly this is where we're going type thing. But then again, you also kind of want to set things up kind of for later, which is why I was like, maybe they'll do something with Danny and Indy then, though it feels like, I don't know, that feels so like to me. I don't know. I feel like also you might have to do something with Jody and Danny at a certain point. So yeah, I don't know. And where do you go from there type thing? I don't know. So yeah, guys, that is it for this one. I think. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Hope you guys will join me again in another one.